So there was a historic moment, a big milestone for Neuralink, in part for humanity, with the first human getting a Neuralink implant in January of this year. Take me through the surgery on Nolan. What did it feel like to be part of this?
Yeah. Well, we're lucky to have just incredible partners at the Barrow Neurologic Institute. They are, I think, the premier neurosurgical hospital in the world. They they made everything as easy as possible for the trial to get going, and helped us immensely with their expertise on how to arrange the details. It was a much more high pressure surgery in some ways. I mean, even though the outcome wasn't particularly in question in terms of our participants' safety, the number of observers,
Right.
the number of people, there's conference rooms full of people watching live streams in the hospital, rooting for this to go perfectly. And that just adds pressure that is not typical for even the most intense production neurosurgery, say removing a tumor or placing deep brain stimulation electrodes. And it had never been done on a human before. There were unknown unknowns. And so definitely a moderate pucker factor there for the whole team, not knowing if we were going to encounter, say, a degree of brain movement that was unanticipated, or a degree of brain sag that took the brain far away from the skull and made it difficult to insert, or some other unknown problem. Fortunately, everything went well, and that surgery was one of the smoothest outcomes we could have imagined.
Were you nervous? I mean, you're
Extremely.
a bit of a quarterback in the Super Bowl kind of situation.
Extremely nervous. Extremely. I was very pleased when it went well, and when it was over. Looking forward to number 2.
Yeah. Even with all that practice, all of that, just you've never been in a situation that's so high stakes in terms of people watching.
Yeah.
And we should also probably mention, given how the media works, a lot of people, maybe in a dark kind of way, hoping it doesn't go well.
Well, I think wealth is easy to hate, or envy, or whatever. And I think there's a whole industry around driving clicks, and bad news is great for clicks. And so any way to take an event and turn it into bad news is going to be really good for clicks.
It just sucks because I think it puts pressure on people. It discourages people from trying to solve really hard problems, because to solve hard problems, you have to go into the unknown. You have to do things that haven't been done before, and you have to take risks.
Yeah.
Calculated risks. You have to do all kind of safety precautions, but risks nevertheless. And I just wish there would be more celebration of that, of the risk taking, versus people just waiting on the sidelines, like waiting for failure.
Yeah.
And then pointing out the failure. Yeah, it sucks. But in this case, it's really great that everything went just flawlessly. But it's unnecessary pressure, I would say.
Now that there's a human with literal skin in the game, there's a participant whose well-being rides on this doing well. You have to be a pretty bad person to be rooting for that to go wrong.
Yeah.
And so, hopefully people look in the mirror and realize that at some point.
So did you get to actually front row seat, watch the robot work? What, you get to see the whole thing?
Yeah. I mean, because an MD needs to be in charge of all of the medical decision-making throughout the process, I unscrubbed from the surgery after exposing the brain and presenting it to the robot, and placed the targets on the robot software interface that tells the robot where it's going to insert each thread. That was done with my hand on the mouse, for whatever that's worth.
So you were the one placing the targets?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. So the robot with the computer vision provides a bunch of candidates, and you kind of finalize the decision.
Right. The software engineers are amazing on this team, and so they actually provided an interface where you can essentially use a lasso tool and select a prime area of brain real estate, and it will automatically avoid the blood vessels in that region and automatically place a bunch of targets. So that allows the human robot operator to select really good areas of brain and make dense applications of targets in those regions, the regions we think are going to have the most high fidelity representations of finger movements and arm movement intentions.
I've seen like images of this, and for me with OCD, it's for some reason a really pleasant. I think there's a subreddit called Oddly Satisfying.
Yeah, love that subreddit.
So it's oddly satisfying to see the different target sites avoiding the blood vessels, and also maximizing like the usefulness of those locations for the signal. It just feels good. It's like
As a person who has a visceral reaction to the brain bleeding, I can tell you
yes, especially
it's extremely satisfying watching the electrodes themselves go into the brain and not cause bleeding.
Yeah. So you said the feeling was of relief when everything went perfectly.
Yeah.